we're at the day's low on the equity side of things. 75 points gone from the Nifty. What a 242-point drop on the Sensex. And I think, at least with this morning, we can conveniently put a lot of the blame on the spike in crude oil prices. So it's a good time to bring in Manisha Gupta and see exactly what's going on in the universe of commodities. Good morning, Manisha. What is happening? 66
Happily taking all the blame. Well, yeah, 66.78 of a high is what we've seen there. So almost nudging 67, but we've come off those levels. But even with that, it's a 3-month highs for the crude oil prices. We are now up 23% for the crude prices. And it's actually gained $17 from the kind of lows that we saw in the month of December. So strong gains on the back of output-led, OPEC-led output cuts. It also has to do with the sanctions on Venezuela and Iran. And then the markets are looking at very strong economic data coming in from China on whether it is the loans that were extended in the month of Jan at a record $476 billion, or whether it has been the Chinese trade data that came in the previous week. Both the numbers have been strong. So clearly the Chinese stimulus measures showing in the economy. And then, of course, the US and China trade talks that concluded in Beijing on Friday. There is a suggestion, a note from Beijing saying that step-by-step progress is seen and that they are looking at, consensus between the two countries on the key points. So that is what really seems to be changing the sentiment. We have the copper prices trading at a 2-month highs. It's strong gains that we saw in zinc prices, up 2.5% on Friday. We've continued to trade positive on Monday morning as well. So almost everything in energy, in the base metal prices, is trading in the positive on your screens. Let's get in then, Paul Bartholomew, to talk further about that. Paul, hi, morning. Thank you so much for taking your time out. What is your sense on the metal space? And first of all, what are you reading from the US and China trade talks? How much of that really seems to be working its way in sentiments?
Hello. Yeah, it's having a bit of impact, definitely. You know, while the two countries are talking and they've agreed to continue talking, at least it means there's no sort of negative news coming out. And typically, what you find is that there might be some positive market reaction, to the what seemingly constructive talks. But then, as we've sort of seen over the past sort of 12 to 18 months or so, when we discussed the topic of tariffs, pretty quickly the market prices rebound to fundamentals. And I think at the moment one of the issues is to what extent is some of the sort of credit loosening that we've been seeing out of Beijing having a bigger impact. And so I think it's always a bit difficult, I think, around the time of Chinese New Year, because often the Chinese government pushes a lot of money into the system just ahead of Chinese New Year. So we still really need to see the next couple of months' data to work out, what are seasonal factors and what are palpable signs that, there is more liquidity going into the system, which will support metals prices.
Paul, that really was my next question, because we've seen a lot of stimulus measures from China in last many months. And would you say the numbers that we have seen for the month of Jan, whether it has been retail sales, trade data, loans, liquidity being pushed, is it that constant push of liquidity? And do you see similar measures going forward into next few months as well?
Yeah, as I said, I think we probably need to see just a few more sort of data points. So not only some of the financial measures of looking like the special bonds, local government special bonds, to what extent they're going to continue at such a high pace, but also some of the end user segments like manufacturing. What's manufacturing going to do? What is what is the February manufacturing going to look like? What are some of the sort of end user segments? Are we seeing a return to construction? So I think a feeling is that we're still really looking for Q2 or Q3 for any sort of solid recovery in the economy. So I just think, as I said before, we need to kind of maintain a bit of a watching brief and see a couple more months' data. But I think there's no doubt that the Chinese government will want the economy to be well supported. So it's talking about measures around to support property and cars and white goods, etc.
So, Paul, would you say that the worst is behind us now? And would you say that the metal prices perhaps have seen a bottom, and from here it's consolidation, even some buying? Can we get into that phase now?
There's possibly a little bit optimistic, but I mean, China always surprises us. So every sort of year, one way or another, China surprises us. Like the way the market came off so quickly in Q4 last year was a big surprise, and then this year, going into this year, I think everybody expected it to be some of the sort of doom and gloom from that Q4 to continue into this year. But we could actually see the market a little bit stronger than expected. I still think a bit of a concern is around the consumer segment. So while the Chinese government's pumping a lot of money into infrastructure, property market is still cooling, which means people are going to buy fewer fridges and washing machines and cars. So I think there's still, you still can't force people to spend money, but you can certainly make it a bit easier if you sort of make it easier for people to to get access to credit down maybe at the consumer level. But
sure.
So I think we're a little bit of an inflection point, and as I say, we need to see a few more monthly data points before we can sort of come to any conclusions.
Point taken. Yeah.
Okay, all right. Thanks very much for getting us all those updates, Paul, and thank you, Manisha, for putting things in perspective. By the way, now we just need to figure out if this is additional, because what Varun Beverages did already communicate to the exchanges last week is that they're picking up additional bottling franchise in Karnataka and also in Maharashtra and several districts in Madhya Pradesh, I think 3 districts. So I'm not sure, Prashant, if this is something over and above that, because they're saying south and west. So is this fresh expansion? We'll have to try and get some more details into this. Varun Beverages, obviously, Pepsi's largest bottler in India, looking to expand geographically, and that's exactly what they've been doing over the last couple of months as well. So that's one stock which is holding up in an otherwise weak market. Okay, as we take this break, here's a quick programming reminder. Watch out for the biggest event of the year, the News 18 Rising India Summit, which is going to be held in New Delhi on the 25th and 26th of February. This is one platform where you can catch all the biggest newsmakers of the country, from Prime Minister Narendra Modi, BJP President Amit Shah, to opposition chief ministers Kamal Nath and Bhupesh Baghel. Along with a whole host of union ministers will also be Isha Foundation founder Sadhguru, Bollywood and sports icons like Deepika Padukone, and former coach of the Indian cricket team Anil Kumble. So that is the News 18 Rising India Summit in New Delhi on the 25th and 26th of February.